In this video, we're going to answer the biggest question on everyone's mind: should you pull Astra Yao? We're going to break down a bunch of ideas ranging from her new kit, gameplay tips, team synergies, and more. We'll even look at this from a free-to-play perspective to see how valuable she is. Sit back, relax, and let's talk about Astra Yao. As a reminder, all of the content in this video was recorded on the creator beta server. As such, some values and information may be subject to change, although pretty minor, for her full release. Thank you very much to HoYoverse for granting early access, and without further ado, let's do this. Let me start this video officially by saying I love Astra Yao. As you will see shortly, there is a lot going for this new agent. Astra Yao is our first ever limited S-rank Ether support unit. She exhibits an extremely high level of versatility and very strong buffs and bonuses. Astra also features a unique, fun combat style for other agents, as we'll see in a little bit, including being the only unit to heal allies. As far as her kit, she'll primarily focus on two concepts, but don't worry, we'll save the full move breakdown for the full Astra Yao guide coming out very soon, so make sure to subscribe for that. The most important thing in all of Astra's kit is the idyllic cadenza state. Idyllic cadenza is a state that Astra Yao enters after using her special attack, and in this state, all squad members' damage and crit damage are increased by 20% and 25% respectively. After switching to another agent, Astra Yao will still remain on the field to perform her song, during which she will be fully invulnerable. But even in this invulnerable state, she is not considered to be off-field and will still benefit from buffs related to any character. In other words, she's still able to be buffed by your active agent. Before we talk about the second important concept of Astra's kit, let's make a quick note about her ultimate, Fantasian Sonata. This is a beautiful ultimate that will deal massive ether damage. But here's the important part. As of right now, this is the only move in the entire game that heals allies actively. At max level ult, this is an outstanding 2,950 HP. After you use the ultimate, you will automatically be put into the OP idyllic cadenza state, and the next two quick assists from agents will turn into chain attacks.
That's a lot of damage!
And it makes for a lot more interesting avenues of combat. The second important concept of Astra's kit is the idea of chords. The number of chords will change with the amount of energy Astra Yao has, and you can see it by these little pips right under her avatar. While Astra is in the idyllic cadenza state with these chords, and the on-field character hits an enemy, it will trigger a quick assist. Basically, think of these chords as an indicator of how much energy Astra Yao has, with one chord being equal to 25 energy. These pips will easily allow you to see how many times you can trigger Quick Assist. But here's where it gets good. When any squad member enters the field through Quick Assist, Chain Attack, Defensive Assist, or Evasive Assist, energy will be consumed and two things will happen. First, Astra Yao will trigger a tremolo, which is that purple explosion you see here. These tremolos are considered EX special attacks, so any effect in the game that buffs EX specials will buff tremolos. But if you've been paying attention, you've seen something that's been a little bit different. Take a look down here in the bottom right where the Quick Assist button is. You'll notice that it was a blue ring before it turns to that red ring. If you Quick Assist to your new agent during this blue ring, it's called a Precise Assist. This causes that tremolo we just talked about to be followed up by 3 tone clusters, which are these little purple diamonds that fall from the sky and attack the enemy. That was a little bit wordy, but just remember that Astra Yao's follow-up attacks are this big purple explosion called a tremolo, and these 3 little attacks called tone clusters. But now I have to share some top secret information that may not be well known when she releases. But of course, that's why you subscribe to the channel right now, right? Anyway, these Astra Yao follow-up attacks can crit. This doesn't necessarily have major implications on her build, but it is an interesting idea to keep in mind as you're getting her disk drives. But of course, that'll all be covered in that full early access Astra Yao guide coming out soon. The second effect of those quick assist, chain attack, defensive assist, and evasive assists leads us to our first core passive, Graceful Andante. We just discussed the first part of this core passive, which is those tremolos, but here's where a massive attack buff comes in. both Astra Yao and the incoming agent's attack will increase by 35% of Astra Yao's initial attack. up to a max of 1200. This effect will last for 20 seconds and repeated triggers extend it to 30 seconds. In other words, a permanent 1200 attack buff to both Astra and the ally, which of course stacks with that 20% damage and 25% crit damage buff we talked about with the cadenza state. I think you may be starting to see why I think Astra is so OP, but she somehow still gets even better. Her additional ability is possibly one of the most versatile in the entire game, and the activation requirement will be met when Astra shares a squad with an attack or anomaly unit. This essentially makes her literally usable in almost any team composition. It also defaults her to being a perfect match with any DPS in the entire game. Seriously, you thought Caesar King had synergy? Just wait until you get to use Astra Yao. And you better believe we'll go over plenty of great team synergies in that upcoming section. Overall though, Astra Yao's combat loop is very simple and easy to achieve. After entering the idyllic cadenza state, switch to another teammate to deal damage while maintaining high enough energy to continuously trigger those quick assists and get those big buffs and bonuses. Also, when you get into a pinch, you can use that ultimate to heal allies, although I usually use it right away when she gets max decibels. But here we go, the team synergy section begins now. Between her universal buffs and combat loop, core passives and additional ability, Astra Yao is the most versatile unit in Zenless Zone Zero. But the best team in the entire game is Astra Yao, Hoshimi Miyabi, and Tsukishiro Yanagi, or the team you see here labeled as LOL. I mean, we already know that Miyabi and Yanagi are ridiculous in their own right, but now you have those insane attack, crit damage, and damage boosts from Astra Yao. Remember here about Miyabi's Fallen Frost points. You get 2 per trigger of Disorder. With Astra Yao causing all these quick assists, you'll be switching in between Yanagi and Miyabi way more frequently, triggering Disorder way more often. Obviously, this will mean more Shimosuke stance, which is that big OP move that Miyabi does, greatly improving the team's damage. Don't worry if you don't have Yanagi though, because my main account doesn't either. If you build your Nicole to have a little bit more of anomaly focus, you can still get those corruption disorders instead. Additionally, remember that Nicole's buffs are slightly different, so they will stack, mainly that ether damage and defense shred. But this isn't the only anomaly focused team that Astra will strive in. If you didn't roll Miyabi, you can use something like Astra Yao, Bernice, and Yanagi or Jane. It keeps falling back on that quick assist mechanic from Astra's kit, where you can still trigger a lot of anomaly disorders. But if you guys have seen any of my previous team-oriented videos, you know I like doing free-to-play teams for you to consider. I tested a lot more of the free-to-play teams in the attack side of things, rather than anomaly, but there's still some good options. One of the more fun characters in the game that seems to get better with every patch is Spin to Win Piper! Something along the lines of Astra Yao, Piper, and a support like Luciana de Montefio, whose name is really fun to say by the way, or even a stun unit. Although, to be honest, those stun units will be much more prominent in direct damage teams we'll discuss right now. Attack teams include Astra Yao, Zhu Yuan, and Qing Yi for ether weakness. This team really focused on those burst windows with the enhanced shot shells from Zhu Yuan, and you know we love any time we get to use her. Another important note is that Astra Yao will help Zhu Yuan recover her shot shells faster, especially with those chain attacks from the ultimate. Next up is our fire damage team with Astra, Soldier, and Lighter, although you can also use Lucy instead. We also have the 2 Belobog agents with Kalita and Mr. Ben Beeger. And yes, you do have to say his name that way because he is that cool. Something we need to mention here though is that we're getting a brand new limited S-rank fire agent very soon. In fact, it's the second half of the patch with Miss Evelyn, who is our Astra Yao bodyguard. Of course I will be releasing early access Evelyn guides in a couple of weeks closer to her time, but for now we know that she has extreme strong fire AoE damage. As for an electric team, you can use the current best attack unit in my opinion, Harumasa, who even by himself has a really fun playstyle. Last but not least, you could pretty much use any free-to-play attack unit as well, Korin, Anton, or Billy. While these teams were obviously not as strong as the limited, they still cleared Chiyu 7 in plenty of time. As such, there's pretty much no limit to how you can use Astra Yao in a variety of teams. Now that we've gotten her kit and team synergies out of the way, let's finally answer the question, should you pull Astra Yao? Part of Astra's value will come from her signature W engine, Elegant Vanity. Aside from being Astra Yao's makeup case, it's actually a pretty strong engine. In short, Astra Yao will get 5 energy pretty much every 5 seconds when squad members enter the field through those assists and chain attacks. The more interesting part is when those chords strike and we use that 25 or more energy. This will give all squad members a 10% damage boost, stacking twice and lasting 20 seconds. In other words, just for using Astra Yao's core loop, you'll get that 20% damage boost pretty much indefinitely. Another important note about Elegant Vanity is that the additional stat is attack, which is Astra Yao's best stat. Having this W engine also has big build implications, especially if you want to double up on energy regen, but we'll dive into more of those in that full early access Astra Yao guide. We'll briefly go over the mindscapes here in a little bit, but in Astra Yao's case, getting her W engine should be the priority over Mindscape 1. So what does all of this value that we discussed with Astra mean for free-to-play players? Let's state it bluntly. Astra Yao is the #1 unit that you should not skip. It's very safe to say that any account in Zenless Zone Zero can get a ton of value from this agent. Those incredible damage, crit damage, attack buffs, team synergies, etc. all make her the most valuable unit in the game. Plus, she's just a really cool and fun character to use. This also translates very well to avoid that dreaded power creep. Astra Yao is entirely future-proof, and in fact, she's going to keep getting better every patch. We're already going to get Evelyn in the second half of her patch, but it's a complete possibility that a lot of future characters will synergize very well with her too. For those of you who want a little bit more power from your Astra Yao, let's dive into those mindscapes. Mindscape 1 is called 12-tone equal temperament. This will trigger an extremely long-lasting reduction to enemy resistances, a total of 18% with all stacks. Additionally, when she enters the battlefield, she gets 1000 decibels right away, leading to faster ultimates. When she uses the ultimate, every squad member will gain Song of Protection for 1 minute. Basically, if you have this effect and an enemy attacks you, you'll grant 1 second of invulnerability. Mindscape 2 increases the attack bonus you get from Astra Yao's core passive. Plus, you'll get another set of those Astra Yao follow-ups, namely that tremolo and the 3 tone clusters. Mindscape 4 makes it so you can trigger the quick assist even when you don't have chords. Depending on what type of agent quick assists into the field, you'll receive 3 different buffs. Attack units will deal an extra 300% of Astra Yao's attack as damage, Anomaly will have 50% increased anomaly buildup on that attack, and Stun will inflict 50% more days on the attack. Mindscape 6 is a giant damage multiplier for tremolo and tone clusters, as well as a giant 80% crit rate boost. When you trigger that precise assist, which is that blue ring, Astra will automatically enter the 3rd hit of basic attack Capriccio with an 80% crit rate. Just remember that my personal recommendation is to get the W engine, then Mindscape 1, then Mindscape 2, and the rest. But there you have it for if you should pull Astra Yao. To put it all simply, yes, you should absolutely pull for this character, and definitely do not skip. But I want to hear from all of you. Let me know in the comments what you think about Astra Yao and if you're going to pull for her. Like the video if it helped in any way, and make sure to subscribe to the channel, not only for that full Astra Yao guide, but also those early access Evelyn videos coming up soon. In the meantime, thank you all very much for watching, and bye for now.